The Mandalorian Chapter 14 has arrived. We've got a ton of information to talk about and a ton of detail. Sit back and enjoy our quick review for Star Wars The Mandalorian Chapter 14. Spoilers are ahead. Hello everyone, my name's Captain Jack and welcome to Star Wars Now. Yes, we're of course talking about Chapter 14, The Tragedy as it's named, of The Mandalorian. The episode is written by Jon Favreau and directed by Robert Rodriguez. Now honestly, this episode, I thought it was going to be filler. I will be completely honest and upright. I thought it was going to be filler and I was pleasantly surprised. There's a lot to unpack with this episode, a lot to talk about, but oh boy, it is simply fantastic. I know I said it last week, but this show continues to impress me each week, which is a good thing for now. However, it could be a bad thing in the future, but it's a very good thing for now as I am enjoying it quite a lot. And hopefully you guys are as well. Do let me know what you thought of this episode down below in the comment section as per usual. We love to get your thoughts because if you're talking Star Wars, then we want to hear about it. Now, immediately from the sort of like preview or the recap of this episode, I should call it, with the dead body of Fennec Shand, or the supposed dead body, I suddenly thought, Boba Fett's going to appear. And I almost wish they hadn't put that in there in a way, but I guess they sort of needed to update us on that, especially if we've not watched the episode since season 1. I've not watched the episode since season 1, though I still do remember it. But I suppose for the more casual viewer, they may not remember it, therefore the recap was needed there. I just supposed felt the recap was like, that's what's going to happen in this episode. Didn't like tell me what's going to happen, but almost like, I should probably expect Boba Fett to appear then. It just gave it away slightly because he hadn't included that. Then I wouldn't have been thinking about it, to be honest. But yeah, it was a bit unexpected. But the recap does also show Ahsoka and alert us a mission to Tython, etc. Surprisingly, Mando immediately jumps in, is heading to Tython. It's clear that Din Djarin is suffering from, well, not suffering from it, but he's basically not willing to let go of a child, or was upset about it, but you can't really tell in a way. And of course, he's bonded with a child by now. Even Ahsoka mentions that in Chapter 13. You know, him and the child have a special connection. They both care for each other deeply, in a way. And we sort of see that come head to head in this episode as well. Now on Tython, Mando does put the child on the Seeing Stone, which is of course part of the ancient Jedi temple on Tython. We don't really get much about the planet, which is a shame, because I'd love some more lore building or world building there, but really time is a factor there. I would love to have seen some ancient Jedi script or something, but then again, it's been so long since the Jedi have been on Tython that it really isn't that much left anymore, which is a shame, because I remember playing Star Wars The Old Republic when you had the Jedi temple on the planet of Tython. Then again, The Old Republic's canon, sort of Legends, I believe. I don't really know where SWTOR stands in the grand scheme of things. I'd have to double check. But you get my point now. It would have been nice to see more of that there. Even the Mando does walk around and say, I wonder if there's a switch or some Jedi scroll there. But unfortunately, we don't really get that. What is quite cool, though, is we do have Slave 1 flying in there. That whole sequence. As soon as I saw that flying across, I was like, hello. I wonder if somebody's using the ship or actually Boba Fett has turned up. And honestly, hearing Temuera Morrison's voice as Boba Fett, fantastic. Honestly, I say this every week, and I'll continue to say this for as long as The Mandalorian is on air properly. A massive thank you to Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, who are doing so much world building with this episode and this series. It is fantastic. One thing I must comment on, by the way, is I wonder if we are going to get a payoff at a later date with Grogu's sort of like connection with the Force. As we see him connect with the Force, the giant Force sort of like echo chamber, I should call it, goes up there and even blocks Din from actually interacting with him as he gets smacked back a couple of times. More time than twice, which you think would be a hint you probably can't get to after a while, but far be it for me to point out the mysteries of the Force. Either way, really cool how it worked out, and I sort of loved it in a way. I do wonder if we are going to get a payoff in the future. I've seen a couple of reviewers and commenters put online that maybe, you know, a Jedi is going to come to Tython, see all the dead bodies of Stormtroopers and go, I wonder what happened here. And then maybe hunt for the child themselves. It could be pretty interesting. I reckon at this point in time, if Luke Skywalker is out and about, which we know he is at this time, we don't have massive amounts of information. We know he's out there doing stuff with the New Republic at this time. I reckon he could come looking for Grogu, but we probably won't see that till Season 3 or Season 4. It depends whether we want to play that idea. I don't think we'll see it in Season 2, but I would be pleasantly surprised if Luke does appear, but I would think another Jedi at this point in time would appear. Chapter 13, Ahsoka points out that, you know, Grogu would have to make a choice of whether to, you know, reach out to a Jedi and connect with the Force or stay with Din. It's not made clear in this episode what he actually does. It's clear he connects with the Force and then disconnects from it just in time as Moff Gideon's Dark Troopers arrive, but it's not really made clear there. Speaking of which, we finally got the confirmation that Dark Troopers is what Moff Gideon has been working on. These looked badass, and I must say looked absolutely fantastic. Deploying from Moff Gideon's modified Arquitens command cruiser and coming down to the planet of Tython, fantastic. Before I jump into Moff Gideon and why he's a badass, because I could probably speak for an hour on why that, let's quickly talk more about Boba Fett and Fennec Shand. Now, Boba Fett, we expected because of the preview bit to the episode of a recap and also the Slave 1 landing. Fennec Shan, didn't expect that, but then again, from the preview clip, I gave a recap, we did see that somebody originally went to her body, but I didn't expect her to be alive. I thought she was going to be dead for good, but it was nice to see her back. I'm a big fan of the actress. I can't pronounce her name, so I'm not going to even try, but I'm a big fan of them, and seeing them from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. now in The Mandalorian again is fantastic. Having Temuera Morrison as Boba Fett, he plays the role brilliantly, and he's had so much experience as well. The references to Jango Fett and how it was his armor, and now it's Boba Fett's armor, also really good. I must say, Boba Fett in the armor, probably could do a bit of a workout, but I'm not saying it in a rude way or anything. It's just a little bit, it's not like usual fitting armor, shall we say. And someone said he does have a dad bod, but hey, you know, whatever fits and whatever goes, I guess. Either way, it was good to see him in the armor, and the whole badass sequence of him landing and then deploying these sort of like explosive, I forget the name of the explosives. Really cool to see that. Against the Stormtroopers as well. The Stormtroopers as well, they seemed a lot more menacing in this episode. I'm not sure if the Mandalorian is doing it right. I think the Mandalorian is doing it right. The Stormtroopers seem a lot more competent and a lot more menacing, even though they are idiots at the end of the day. The Stormtrooper commander even makes a reference to that. I want to quickly talk about the Imperial transport. Now, Moff Gideon sends his Stormtroopers down in these Imperial transports. They're not Lambda shuttles or anything like that. Instead, they look vaguely similar to the First Order's transport, which is really interesting because I wonder if this is a precursor to what would become the First Order technology. If anything, this potentially could lead up to how certain companies made First Order designs. Because we knew at a later date, certain like Sinar, like Janus Fleet Systems and also QAT drive yards, etc., offshoots of those companies would make First Order tech for the First Order, obviously. And they would design like the transports of the Resurgent Star Destroyers. I wonder if we're seeing like that tech slowly aging here in a way, and that's how things like coming about. It could make a lot of sense. It's something to think about, and I'm pretty sure myself and a lot of other like Starship YouTubers, such as Eckhart's Ladder, etc., will probably think about that even more so. Also, can we just appreciate how big Boba Fett's like jetpack is? It is quite big. I really do feel sorry for those Imperial troops who got shot down by his missile as well. They were just about escaping, and they get shot down. Either way, fantastic episode. There's a lot to unpack and a lot to think about here. Then again, one thing I did need to mention though, the Razor Crest has been destroyed once again. I feel like it's the 5th bloody time this ship has been destroyed. In episode 2, it gets ripped apart by Jawas. Now in, this episode has been completely destroyed. The other episode of this season was destroyed again, then crashed and blown up. No one can win with this ship. It's cursed. I hope Amanda gets a new ship after this. Maybe a nice Millennium Falcon or something like that. I don't know. He just needs a new ship because the Razor Crest is freaking cursed at this point in time. Don't go near that ship, man. It's absolutely cursed. Either way, though, still good to see that. The fact that the Arcanon's cruiser just opened fire and destroyed the Razor Crest, kind of sad to see. I thought more of the ship would survive, but I guess not. Though Din does recover the Beskar staff, what he intends to do with that is unknown as of yet, though. I'm not sure how that links in, but I guess we'll have to wait and see. Seeing Boba Fett fly around a Slave 1 was fantastic. We did hear rumours originally that a Slave 1 cockpit had been built in time for Season 3 or Boba Fett spin-off show. I now think those rumours are unlikely, simply because that's how it appeared in this episode. Most likely they're false at this point, because the assets have been developed for The Mandalorian. I could potentially see a Boba Fett show in the future. Right now, however, not likely. Gideon's cruiser, on the other hand, fantastic. Honestly, Moff Gideon's Imperial Remnant continue to impress me. I actually expected at some point in this episode Thrawn might make an appearance, or it'd be referencing you must contact Grand Admiral Thrawn, and I expected when he walked back to his comm table he was going to do that, but instead no, that didn't happen. Dark Trooper wise though, again, there's a lot to unpack for this episode, so I'm crossing between multiple streams right now. Dark Troopers, they look fantastic. Just their red eyes, they go down towards the planet. Honestly, really good. I can't wait to see some actual combat of these and see how many Moff Gideon actually has at his disposal. It's clearly he has quite a few. Even at a room alone we saw in Chapter 12, The Siege, he has about 12 or 14 in there. Easy, I'd say easy. There's quite a lot to unpack from there, and it did look like there's multiple rooms as well. If we say this starship's symmetrical, that's probably another 12 on the other room. So there's plenty of Dark Troopers who's got access there. And they look rather menacing as well. Not like those Imperial security droids that Thrawn had. These things definitely look a lot more menacing. But I do wonder if he's going to get different phases of Dark Troopers. Because in Legends, there are 3 Dark Trooper phases. Phase 1, I'd say, is a bit like what we've got now. Or maybe Phase 2 is like what we've got now. And Phase 3 was like an even more sort of exoskeleton, which you could see Gideon using. Gideon also whips out the Darksaber in this episode to almost intimidate Grogu, who's trying to use the Force to throw around some Stormtroopers, which is quite fun to see. And you can see there's almost a connection between Grogu and Moff Gideon there. Really liked how that element played out. And also, one thing I need to talk about is as Slave 1 is chasing the Dark Troopers going up towards the Arcanon's command cruiser, Boba Fett says the eerie line of, "They're back." And honestly, that episode, that sort of section as a whole there, really well played out. Literally, as Slave 1 breaks the cloud layer and looks at the Arcanon's command cruiser, honestly love that sequence. Because at the same time, this isn't an Imperial Star Destroyer. This is just an Arctans. It's not that intimidating, but when you think you've not seen an Imperial Star Destroyer for quite some time, or the Empire in general, it's quite intimidating. Because even an Arctans at this point is a symbol of the Empire. And I think that's what Boba Fett means by they're back. Even Fennec Shand says, oh, but this is under control of the New Republic. Somebody tell that to them. I don't think they're going to bother at this point. I really want to see how the Imperial Remnant's folding out there, and I think over the next 2 episodes, we're going to learn that even more. This episode, or chapter in this case, was called The Tragedy. No indication of what the next episode is going to be called. However, I believe it's written by Jon Favreau once again. Chapter 15, on the other hand, like I say, it's written by, it's written by Rick Famagini. Okay, that's interesting. I thought it was written by Jon Favreau. Maybe it's directed by Jon Favreau instead. I'm not entirely sure who Chapter 15 is directed by, but it's episode 7 out of season 2. And that's airing December 11th. Potentially very cool. We've got nothing to go off of just yet, so we'll have to wait and see. Either way, looking at this right now, it's clear Moff Gideon has a child, or Grogu in this case, and he's planning to resume his original work of transfusing midi-chlorians into something. Whether that's himself or other subjects, at this point in time, I'm likely believing it might be himself so he can wield the Darksaber. How this builds into the Imperial Remnant and Thrawn returning, I don't know, but there's a lot to unpack and a lot to talk about as per usual. Either way, really excited for the way The Mandalorian is going right now. I am really enjoying it. Do let me know what you thought of this chapter down below in the comment section as per usual. For now, I've been Captain Jack here on Star Wars Now. It's been a pleasure as always talking about The Mandalorian here on Star Wars Now, and hopefully you are enjoying it as well. Don't forget, you can follow us on social media for your latest updates from the Star Wars universe, including daily updates as well on The Mandalorian and many more shows that are currently in production. We recently tweeted out some pictures of the Kenobi series in production, and oh boy, it does look fantastic. For now, like I said, I've been Jack here on Star Wars Now. We'll be back this week with some breakdown videos talking about the latest chapter, that's Chapter 14, The Tragedy, and what's to come up on Chapter 15 as well, as it's certainly going to be exciting. For now, I've been Jack here on Star Wars Now. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time. May the Force be with you, everyone.